welcome back to the GROUPEX Podcast. It is so good to see you for the, what is this, fourth or fifth time? I can't even remember now. I think it's the fifth time, fourth time.
Fifth time. Fifth time. Yeah. Time flies when you're having fun, Tony.
Doesn't it?
Almost
What?
a weekly occurrence, eh?
Tish, I like that one, Sam. Boys, so we're up to the last two keys, the last two key plays. We've got 7 and 8 we're going to go through. And 7 is promote your games, and then number 8 is design a winning game plan. Let's kick it straight into gear. I'm going to ask you, Dan, give us a bit of an overview of key number 7, promote your games. Tell us what it's all about.
Yeah, sure. So essentially it is exactly what it says on the tin. We've tried to keep these key play headings as simple as possible so that you sort of know what you're getting with each key play. Promote your games is about exactly that, promoting what's going on inside the walls of your club, and obviously promoting what's going on perhaps outside the walls of your club, things that the club is engaged in, community events, social activities, all that sort of thing. So, I mean, there's some really interesting stats around, promoting and advertising and stuff like that. There's a really, really cool stat around, in modernised countries, people are exposed to between 4,000 and 10,000 pieces of marketing material every day, which just seems like an incredible number. But when you think about, you scroll through Instagram, TikTok, whatever your social media vice is, you see ads on TV, you see ads in newspapers, whatever wherever you get your news or your information from, there's ads everywhere. So it makes sense that, you would be exposed to that number of pieces of marketing. So it's about cutting through that. It's about cutting through the noise of the marketing that you're seeing every day, and making sure that you're reinforcing all the good stuff that's happening in your own club, and hopefully getting the attention and the eyes and spotlight on what's happening in your club. So and I think it's important to frame this as focusing on what's happening in the club and speaking to your existing members. That's super important, but obviously also to prospective members as well. So making sure you're marketing, making sure you're talking about things that are going on to all those different demographics and different groups that you might be trying to target with information. Because as we know, I mean, it costs about 5 times more to get a new member to come in, walk through the door in terms of marketing spend than it does to retain an existing member. So it's super important that you're making sure you've got marketing to both to all avenues of your crowd you're trying to reach.
So we need to obviously understand what they want, yeah? What our target market is looking for and what's going to be appealing to them. Sam, can you give us a little bit of detail on what we need to sort of be looking for when we need to understand what our consumers need?
Yeah, and the great thing about modern technology and modern CRMs is you can get a really good understanding of your member base from who's currently in your club and who you currently attract. I think understanding your club's USPs is an important place to start. And it's really important, I think, for clubs these days to ensure that they're not only marketing to the members, kind of what Dan was talking about before, not only marketing to the demographic that's in the club, but trying to attract other demographics, because it's obviously we're such a diverse society. And I think the majority, is it 78%, I think was the most recent number in terms of the amount of Gen Z and millennials that are in the world. There's a lot more Gen Z and millennials than there are the sort of other generations at the moment. Yep. So what that kind of tells us is if you market to some of the generations that came before millennials, you've got quite a small piece of the market. So yep. The clubs that will survive are the clubs that spend time not only marketing to their current members, but all types of members. And I think even if you narrow it down the way that you market, it's kind of, it's a niche in terms of the way that you market to those different demographics. But in terms of overall marketing, there's a gentleman called Leo Burnett, and he's basically considered one of the founders of modern marketing. So, he's someone who's responsible for, if you know American cereal, Tony the Tiger from Frosty Flakes. This is not an advertisement within an advertisement. Branding of cigarettes was big back in the day. Now we don't promote smoking, absolutely, but he's responsible for someone called the Marlboro Man, so pretty well known in the advertising circle. Yeah, and essentially what he said was, your marketing needs to be 4 things. It needs to be simple. It needs to be memorable. You want it to be inviting, and you want it to be fun to read. And that's how you make the cut through, particularly when, as Dan said, you're exposed to up to 4,000 pieces of marketing. And it's actually probably a lot higher now with social media. I think every third or fourth post, you're going to get some sort of ad, because that's how social media make their money, right? Plus continually scrolling. You want to make sure that the advert, if you're within that 4,000, how's your advert stand out to each of those demographics?
So let me ask you this question then. Where should we be advertising? Is it only social media? Is it email stuff? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Insta? Is it Facebook? Is it TikTok? What works these days? What doesn't? I mean, I think I shared with you guys the other day when we had a brief chat that I jumped onto TikTok, and then 3 minutes later I jumped off to TikTok. I logged in and then just deleted my account straight away. I was like, no, Tony, you don't need to be there. What are clubs doing? And I suppose what works? Where's the best place for clubs to market these days, Dan?
So there's no right or wrong answer here. It's obviously the first thing you got to do is identify who you're trying to market to, and ideally you want to be marketing as a gym chain or a single club. Who do you want as a member? You probably want everyone. Realistically, if you've got to learn to swim, academy, if you like, you want to be marketing from 6-month-old babies all the way through to your 80, 90-year-old people that are still doing, some sort of fitness activity within a club, and that's not unrealistic. So I think you've got to identify who you're trying to target in your marketing, and then understand where they're actually getting this information from. And as Sam said, each individual audience is slightly different. I mean, you've talked about TikTok and how you spent 3 minutes on it and you basically hated it and got straight off. That's probably a sign of your age, to be honest. I mean, I'm not on TikTok, but that millennial Gen Z group, that's where they're getting a lot of their information, rightly or wrongly. That's where it's coming from, right? So, understanding that the younger generation is getting their information, their advertisements are coming through a TikTok or an Instagram. Facebook, I think now has probably moved to a slightly older demographic, but again, super relevant. A great place to market things that are going on in your club. And then, you've got print. You've got print as your dare I say, old school sort of marketing, but it still works, right? Because there are plenty of people, and Sam's probably got some examples of, family members and things as well that still go and buy the paper each day. So, again, so I think understanding who you're trying to market, what the message is, and again, understanding that each marketing location, you're going to have a slightly different messaging too. I think that's really important. You're not going to necessarily be targeting the guys on TikTok with messaging that you want to send, or you want your older adults to consume. So I think understanding who the target market is, where they're consuming their content, and what is the message you're trying to sell to that market. Yep. Once you've got those three sort of concepts worked out, then it becomes really clear who and where you should be targeting your energy.
Yeah. Do we know what they want though when they're looking for marketing, or do we know really what we should be marketing to those different age brackets, or is it different to each demographic where you are? Like a CBD location is going to be different to a regional New South Wales location, example. Sam, is there a right or wrong with that?
I might start this one by asking you a question, Tony. If you wanted to find out some information, like let's say, I don't know, you wanted to find out about gyms in your area, where would you go to find that information?
I jump on Google straight away. Google's my go-to place for absolutely anything that I'm doing these days. I'm not a big social media guy. I mean, yes, I'm on social media because I feel I need to. I feel like they're ticking those boxes to go, yeah, cool, I've got to be on there. But do I like it? No, I absolutely hate it. I think it's the fakest world possible. But I understand the reason why it's there. But if I'm searching for something, I go to Google straight away.
Yeah. And interestingly, I would do the same, and Dan, you'd probably do the same too, right? Interestingly, Les Mills did some global research on Gen Zs and to a small extent millennials, and they actually found that a lot of Gen Zs, most of them studied, went to TikTok, went to Instagram, which is very different to what we would do. The different social medias are actually very different in terms of the way that you communicate with those cohorts. If you look at the the Les Mills International pages. So they've got a Facebook presence, a Instagram presence, and a TikTok presence. They might post, this is just a generalization. They might post, say, 1 to 2 pieces of information every day or 2 days. Those 3 different sites will have 3 different looking types of content.
Marketing.
And that sort of talks to the crowd that they're trying to market to. So it's really important that you utilize obviously a variety of different resources and tailor your message to suit, number one, the people who use that type of social media or if it's in the newspaper, you want to make sure that the message isn't the same as it was on Instagram, because again, you're looking at a different cohort. I'm not sure how you market to 6-month-old babies, Dan, but maybe to their parents, you might want to have a message.
Parents,
you might have a message that
your babies can't
them.
read yet. What's going on?
Look, and the internet's only been around since I think 1989, and it was only really prevalent in homes. Like, I remember a time when we didn't have a computer and we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
I also remember a time when we did have the internet and we had a modem that you had to plug into the phone line and it make a bunch of noises. And this probably shows that my baby face isn't as correct as it looks. But you just have to move, I guess, kind of move with the times, but also understand that there's not just one way to market. There are so many different ways. Yeah. So understand the different platforms and just having a presence, because I think it is really important these days to have a presence in some form on all types of social media and make sure that you tailor the message to suit those people on those platforms.
What's new in fitness? The Australian fitness industry news and commercial gym equipment suppliers website designed to provide fitness industry professionals with knowledge and information to make better informed business decisions. Yeah. No, fair enough. I appreciate that. I think that makes a lot of sense with what you're saying as well. So let's move on to the next bit then. If we're looking to promote what's going on in club, promoting a new program and then promoting quarterly launch campaigns and that kind of stuff to try and, attract new members. What's the right or wrong things that we should be doing there, Dan? What should we be doing and how should we be doing it? Is the message the same for a new program as to a quarterly release, or do we just go, hey, quarterly release, dress up in your favorite clothing, it's going to be red and yay, let's do this and hope it works? What works these days and what's the best practice?
Yeah, look, I think you've got to, again, identify what it is that you're trying to achieve out of each different marketing campaign or promotion, right? So in the case of a quarterly launch, you're obviously primarily going to be speaking to your existing members, and there might be a call to action around bringing in some friends or something like that. So again, the messaging is a little bit different there. So a quarterly release is going to be something that your existing members will be very familiar with. There's quite often a theme that goes with it. And just as an aside, I personally don't think it needs to be, my personal view on these sort of quarterly launches is don't sort of make it a theme or something that's really awkward, like dress up and stuff like that, because quite often for every person that loves to dress up, there's probably 2 that don't. Yep. So I think sometimes you just got to be really careful with your quarterly launches. This is a little bit of an aside, but just be careful with quarterly launches as to making it as inclusive and inviting as possible to people, because you obviously want massive numbers of people attending, right? So again, your call to action for a quarterly launch might be bring a friend for free, or come and try a new program that you haven't perhaps done before. Whereas a new program is really going to potentially be speaking to a whole different cohort. It may in fact not be speaking to your existing membership base very much at all. It might be an FYI to existing members. Here's a new program, come and try it. But obviously, the idea of adding a program into your mix on your timetable is to engage a whole different audience. So you've got to be thinking about how do we market and how do we promote this new program to the people that aren't perhaps already engaged in group fitness or in group exercise. So understanding who that target market is and what it is attractive about this new program that might make them want to come and try this program when they perhaps haven't tried programs in the past. So again, it's not complicated. This is actually really, really simple. but it does take you. It takes a moment to just sit down and understand what are we trying to achieve and who are we targeting with this campaign. If it's all very well to say, well, we've got a new program and just put it out to everyone, all and sundry, but perhaps that isn't the best method. It's probably, let's target the group that we're actually trying to achieve, because at the end of the day, a new program is a perfect example. You want to show a return on investment. So are you getting a great return on investment if you've just got the existing people coming to that are already engaged in group exercise coming to that class? Well, yeah, you're getting a great return on investment anyway, because those people are even more engaged in your club. But is there an opportunity to market to the people that aren't already engaged in group exercise to give them that sense of belonging in a group environment as well?
Yeah. Now, you both are both teaching still in club at the moment. Yeah, I haven't taught for a couple of years now, but you're both teaching club. Back when I was teaching club, every time we did a quarterly launch, we had less people rock up. Now, the reason we had that is that because it was bring a friend for free, the people that were normally there were like, oh, shit, it's going to be full. I don't want to talk. I don't want to rock up. I don't want to be struggling to get space. I don't want to play with that. So they just wouldn't come. So it worked against us in that way that we had less people. What is working in club at the moment? Sam, I'll ask you this question. Being in the trainer position, and I'm assuming you're seeing and chatting to a lot more instructors out there as well, what works when it comes to quarterly releases, quarterly launches? What is a good thing that you've seen work that we can suggest to listeners?
Yeah, and just putting on a poster in the club and saying, bring a friend for free, it's a launch, doesn't really cut the mustard, I guess. Is it cut the mustard? That's probably the wrong quote. Anyway, it doesn't really cut it in this day and age, or even, I don't think it's ever cut it, right? I think the quarterly launches that work well, and I can think of a couple of examples. So I have a club in East Keilor, so shout out to Penny. She was recently showing me some launches that they'd run, and they actually do a lot of the theme type classes. So the bring a friend for free, dress up type scenario. And the reason it works there is because the members get behind it, right? So she was showing me photos from the class, and all the members were dressed up. There was some really great backdrops where they'd gone the extra mile to make the studio look like something was different. So this was really important too when we were doing things like member acquisition, things in clubs, right? If a member comes in and everything looks the same, they're not going to ask any questions and they're going to move on. If it's a poster on the wall, people get this thing called poster blindness. So, after it's been up for they've walked past it a couple of times, they're probably not interested. But what grabs people's attention is when something is different, because it gets them asking questions. It gets them going, what is actually going on, which again, initiates a conversation, which then, you can get a call to action and get them into a class. And that's what, the Keilor Centre, just having those, they had a Winter Wonderland theme, and they got this big banner of a backdrop of Winter Wonderland. They had things hanging from the ceiling, and it was really well executed. So I think it does work for some clubs. Again, know your demographic, right? If your demographic love a dress up, go for gold. If your demographic don't get behind it, sort of don't do it. Or, come up with a different way that's, again, like Dan said, more inclusive. On a non sort of dress up theme, having classes that are team teachers, they really get people up and about when they know that they're going to come in and they're going to experience a variety of different instructors, having a lot of fun. We ran a Christmas themed set of classes at the club that Dan and I work at last year. We had 14 instructors. The GFM put forward, and this is Aquapole, shout out to Kat. She put forward a business case to the manager and said, we want to run this. We think it'll be really great for the members. And we just had we had some matching tops and stuff, some Santa hats. It was really simple, but the amount of members that came through for those classes was really high. So we just ran sort of 30-minute classes. So it's just an example, I guess, with rather than spending it on decorations, putting that into people. That launch actually, funnily enough, I actually got to know a few more of the team that I didn't know before. So it was really great team bonding. And we even now going on a Saturday and do each other's classes. Like I'll go and do Dan's class then my wife and I, Rhea, will jump in and we'll do, the pump class afterwards. And there's like probably 3 or 4 instructors from the club in there, and that really was prompted from just that team teach, that little investment that the club made to get 14 instructors in across the day. That investment not only had a positive effect on the members, it brought new members in, but then it also had a positive effect on the team. So, I think the launches that are done really well, there's just a little bit of thought put into them, and the outcome, if you execute it right, can actually be really high from all angles. And it's not always I think where clubs get caught up is it's not always the measurable things. It's not always it made us this much money, or it got us, this much extra members this month. It's those things that you can't measure. You can't measure the team culture. I mean, you can see if your staff are happy or sad, or, that sort of thing. But you really can't measure that. It's really challenging to measure. So, don't underestimate what you can do with a quarterly launch. It's just take a bit of time, put a bit of thought in it. And I think if I can add one more thing, it's just don't rush. Something that RPM 100 taught us is you can absolutely hang on to the release for an extra couple of weeks and let your instructors get really comfortable with that release before you launch it. Your members will not be like, oh, you didn't launch it, so I'm going to go train somewhere else. You didn't wait 2 weeks. Like, certainly getting your instructors more comfortable with the release will help them relax and have more fun. There was a club in Dan's reason in Bathurst. I'm not sure what club you have to remind me, Dan. What club was that? There's a club in Bathurst. They waited until January, I think, to launch RPM 100, and they had the biggest turnout they'd ever had. We actually did a testimonial from them. So there's just great examples of dress up, non-dress up. I think the key message is take a bit of time to come up with a game plan, know your members so that you can filter that message to suit, and don't underestimate the power of a great launch. It's more than just spending a couple extra bucks on instructors or decorations and things like that.
Matching the best gyms and studios with the best group exercise instructors. If you want to get your classes covered or want to teach more and earn more, simply let the Cover Me app do the work. No more WhatsApp groups and social media groups, no more chasing, only relevant, personalized notifications. Just check in at a club, an invoice will be automatically generated, ready for you to get paid. It takes just a couple of minutes to create a Cover Me professional profile. So, raise your profile and raise your game. Cover Me. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. I'm going to ask a quick question. Have you both seen a launch that has been a car crash, that has been so diabolically bad, you've gone, wow, let's not do that again? And if so, share with us. But if not, that's okay as well. Dan?
I'm just trying to think. No, I would say I don't think, within reason, I just don't think you can have an absolutely diabolical train wreck of a launch, to be honest with you. I do think you can make mistakes in terms of a theme, or perhaps, making it not as inclusive or what have you as you might have liked it, and that might lead to a lower sort of attendance than you might have hoped. But short answer is no. I think members who are engaged in group exercise, and potentially members that might be interested in group exercise, kind of enjoy a launch. I mean, I think that's the beauty of launches. It's new to everyone. So if you've been doing pump or RPM or body balance, whatever it is, for 100 years, that release is new to everyone. So I think it automatically fosters that sense of inclusivity within the group that's there. So no, I don't think. I don't know how, unless again you just did not market, did not promote, and then just expected people to turn up because you put it on. Again, the build it and they will come concept is long gone in the fitness industry, to be honest with you. Yeah, unless you just sort of didn't advertise at all, and you just end up with the same people on this, that turn up
Yeah.
week in, week out. No,
Yeah.
I would say you can't really butcher a launch to that
Yeah.
extent. To be
Sam,
honest,
what about you?
I
Have you come across anything that you've gone, wow, let's never do that again?
I don't think I've ever come across an absolute car crash. I think with these sort of situations, with any event you run, you either one of two things will happen. Either it's fantastic, it was great, we kicked it out of the park, or we have an opportunity for our next launch to do it a little bit better.
Yes.
I guess where launches can go sideways is probably a few things. Number one, you rushed it. You decided that next week we're going to run it, which doesn't give the instructors enough preparation time. So I think maybe I'll turn this around a little bit and just maybe give 3 tips to make sure that it's not a car crash. So number one, make sure you give your instructors enough time to prepare so they can actually really intrinsically know the release. So they have a chance to listen to the music, to find the really cool moments in the music so they can really tap into it and be less internally focused, like what's the next move, to externally focused, because that's where the magic happens, being able to engage and have fun with the members. That's the first one. Secondly, we're talking about promoting games, so I'd be naive not to mention marketing. So just having a really good plan as to how you're going to market this outside. We provide a lot of marketing material to clubs from a Les Mills standpoint, and I'm sure the other programs would have something that they could put up in terms of a poster. But again, a poster doesn't change a lot. It doesn't. It's not going to attract your new members. And thirdly, make sure the day feels different. So make sure that when members walk in, they're like, "Whoa, what is that?" Maybe a member who's never done a class before walks into the club and sees your reception is dressed up, and they say to the team member at reception, "What's happening?" And you say, "We've got a brand new launch. The great news is, have you done group fitness before?" And they might say no. You can say the great news is no one else knows what's going on in the release today as well. So actually, you're not going to stand out as much if you do the wrong thing. So why don't you go in and try that class? Having that conversation could lead more people in. So give yourself a good amount of time. Make sure everyone knows about it. Dress it up, make it look different, and just spend a bit of time on your marketing. And if you do those 3 things, if it's a car crash, I'd be very concerned if it was a car crash.
No, I think that my point I want to try and get across there is give it a shot. Give it a go. Learn from your mistakes. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and go again. If you've stopped doing quarterly releases for whatever reason, start again. Replicate what you did last time if you can't remember what it was. Just get in there and just have a shot at it, and then go through and work on it. You will always be able to learn something new from what you've just done. If you nailed it, brilliant. Replicate it, sell it, get it out there and do it. But I guarantee no one's nailing it. We've all got stuff to learn. So don't be afraid. Get in there and give it a shot. And those of you that are watching and listening, these guys here, Les Mills, reach out, get in touch with them if you want some guidance and some help. If you're a current licensee, you'll already know who your business development manager is. If not, reach out. I think it was at ask@lesmills.com.au you said the other day, or jump onto the Les Mills website, guys, and find out the information. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid at all. Now, the other question that I've got on this is we're talking about marketing programs and marketing releases, that kind of stuff. What about marketing your instructors? Do instructors market themselves? Should the club market the instructor? What's the go with marketing instructors, and what should we be doing with that one? Sam, I'll throw that at you first, coming from that training background, and then Dan, I'll come over to you for that one. So Sam?
Well, it's really both, right? It's I think it's everyone's responsibility to get behind classes and instructors, and even from my personal use of social media, building class attendances and things, it's worked well for me when the club has given me shout outs to build a class, and also I've promoted it on my social media to my pool of people, because it's, I guess, sometimes I may know people that aren't training and want to get into training, so they come to me. And I've had many examples where I've signed friends and family up to clubs that I've run because they've asked the question to me. So I think it's both. Certainly when we talk about social media, the challenge is, how do you get someone to stop? How do you get someone to stop scrolling and engage with your content? when there's hundreds and thousands of posts. Like, social media is an infinite scroll type of technology. That's why so many people, I mean, if you looked at your personal, I'm going on a bit of a tangent, if you looked at your personal sort of screen time, probably a lot of it is social media, and I'm going to put my hand up and say I'm guilty. That's because they just keep feeding me more. But the question is, how do you get people to stop? You get people to stop through videos and people, people that they might know. So doing posts on your social media, promoting your instructors is a bit more than just putting a photo up. I think photos are more challenging to get people to stop. So having a video testimonial, getting the instructor to talk about, their class and, what makes the way they teach unique, to help your members understand who they are. When members feel like they know the person that they're walking into the class for, they're actually going to be more likely to feel comfortable.
Yep. Dan, what are your thoughts on that? What should we be doing? What shouldn't we be doing? Who should be doing the marketing? Who shouldn't be doing the marketing?
Well, the stat I'd give you is that advocacy drives 50% of purchases. It's as simple as that. So if you've got a strong advocate, and let's be honest, your instructors are a mobile billboard for your product and your services. So turn your instructors into influencers, if you like, within the club walls. So it talks to exactly what Sam was talking about. Have your instructors engaged in what's happening in the club, whether that's a new program, a launch, something different, a change of equipment, whatever it might be. Utilize your instructors, because they're your most powerful resource. They're also your only differentiator from the competition, right? So everyone, it's a generalization, but everyone has a group fitness product in their club. Everyone has treadmills. Everyone has insert, item here, but not everyone has great instructors in your club, right? And they can be your biggest advocates, but they can also be your biggest detractors if they're not engaged. So, leverage off their knowledge of what they're doing and leverage off their ability to reach customers, both internally, within the class that they're teaching, and also externally. There's a great opportunity for clubs to share content, not only about what's going on in the club, but also introducing instructors, as Sam said, and using those instructors to then reach further into their network of followers or people that are engaged with their content to promote the club and the things that are going on in there. So I think instructors are so important. And then the other part I'd add to that is your membership consultants, your front of house staff. You have to educate those guys on what's going on, what's in the club, what the unique selling points of the club, what are new, what's happening, what's changing. Because at the end of the day, a group exercise manager, a club manager, a group fitness instructor is not necessarily going to be the first point of contact. In fact, they almost certainly won't be the first point of contact with either an existing member that walks in the door or a new member that's looking to sign up or understand what the club has to offer. So your membership consultants, again, are so integral in promoting the club, into engaging with your new and existing members as well. So make sure they're really well educated and understanding of what's happening in the club too, and outside the club.
This is the GROUPEX Podcast. On that, there was a recent podcast that I did with Ish Shane from Les Mills New Zealand clubs as well. So there's a lot of details on that we went through. So go and have a watch of that one for anyone that's watching or engaged with at the moment. The question I've got though is on that. We're talking about getting instructors to do some marketing themselves. Now, we've all seen it, and there's so many social media pages and groups out there where there's a whole lot of bitching and whinging going on, where instructors don't think they're earning enough money, and God, why would I go and advertise for that? I'm only getting paid $45. If they want me to do that, they need to pay me more. How do we address that?
It's about having your instructors engaged. I mean, most instructors are probably not doing it for the money. I've been teaching for a number of years. I'm not retiring on the income I'm earning from teaching. Let's put it that way. Let's be really honest about what group fitness instructing is. You're not retiring on the money. It's a great little add-on, to your pay packet, and it's an awesome way to meet new people. Like only moved to Melbourne a couple of years ago, and my initial contact or friendship group was as a result of teaching classes. I got to know my members and other instructors, so it's a great social network as well. So if you've got an engaged instructor base that believes from within, really genuinely believes in what you're doing and what the club provides, and feel supported by the club, they will naturally want to promote what's going on in the club. And again, what's in it for the instructor? Well, why would you not promote your class or the things that are going on in the club, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're promoting what's happening in the club and that's successful, you've got more people in the club, there's more people that can come to your class. There's more people that might be doing, if you're a personal trainer, that might be coming and talking to you about doing some one-on-ones. There's the trade-off of spending a few seconds on social media, putting up a post about things that are coming up, or reposting what a club has already shared, or whatever it is. I mean, it's not a burdensome or really time-consuming thing, right? And the benefits to you personally and the club more broadly are really significant. So, if you've got instructors that are pushing back, saying, "Well, why would I do that? You're not paying me to do it. What's in it for me?" Having that honest conversation, well, of course, there's a benefit to you as well. If we've got more members, if we've got more people engaged in the club, that's going to translate to bigger classes. And I mean, what group fitness instructor doesn't want to teach to a big class? There's a big difference between teaching to 5 people and teaching to 50 people, right? So that's the no-brainer. That's the incentive. There's the carrot really for an instructor.
No, I agree with you. I think the instructors need to get off their high horses and realize, they're paid to do a job. Yep, completely. But those instructors that are bitching and whinging and carrying on about getting paid more money, if they do a little bit more, and as you're saying, do a bit of marketing, or I'll say do a bit of marketing, advertise the classes, advertise themselves, more members start coming in. If the club's earning more money from more members coming in, there's an opportunity for instructors to actually earn more money. There's your case study or your business case straight away to be able to turn around to your GFM or GROUPEX manager or your owner or manager of the club and say, hey, I'm doing this little bit of extra marketing. We're seeing that members are coming in, the classes have started to fill up. Is there an opportunity to earn more money? Sam, would you agree with that statement that I just made?
I think there's nothing wrong with advocating for yourself if you believe that you're not getting sort of paid what you're worth or remunerated in what you're worth. I think there's absolutely a fair point there. And, like if a club is more financially successful, of course, there is a great conversation you can have with an owner or a manager around it. I really think that the people that are successful, and sort of air quotes get paid what they're worth are the ones that do. It's like any job, right? When you go the extra mile within reason, I'm not saying you have to spend 100 hours a week doing social media or go give me the login and I'll do it for you. But just that one little extra thing you could do in your class may make a big difference to the class attendance, which again helps the financial viability of a club. Over the last, if we go a little bit wider now, over the last 4 years since 2020, a lot of businesses have had to shut. Like a lot of fitness businesses have fallen, and I hate to see it. Like even when I was a club operator, you hate to see it. Like it might be a good opportunity to get more members, but you do hate to see it. So helping your club be more financially viable then helps you have the ability to have a more strong conversation with your owner, your manager, your leader in terms of what your remuneration package looks like for your classes. Because I know the first thing that I've always experienced in terms of, I've always understood about asking for more money is the first question sort of is like the why. They want to understand the why. And if you can go in and have a, really measured response in terms of what you sort of provide, what you offer, that will then help you have a better conversation about the money, apart from if you don't pay me more, I'm leaving. You can have a really robust conversation with a leader. So I do agree. If you do put in a little bit extra, you can be in a better position to have a good conversation. Yeah.
Totally. I think the big underlining thing here is you need to plan. You need to plan your year. You've got 4 times a year where you can do a quarterly relaunch, or you've got 4 opportunities a year to advertise to your existing members that might not be engaged in group exercise, but also, as we're saying, and the simplest one is refer a friend. Get a friend, bring a friend for free. Get somebody else in and advertise that there's something new happening. And especially if you're looking at a new program, throw that out there to all your marketing. With the CRMs we've gotten, with the lead database of all those people that we've approached and the sales consultants have approached in the past, you still have a list there. Yeah, there's still people you can data to, you can message to, whether it's marketing via email or whatever it may be. There's still messages you can get out to those people. So marketing is key on promoting what you're doing in club. But guys, 12 months of the year, there's enough time to market and do stuff in there for sure.
This is the GROUPEX Podcast.
So, boys, let's move on to key number 8, which is designing a winning game plan. Now, to me, this one, I'm assuming, is just summing up the last 7, yeah? It sums up everything that we've done over the last 7 and gives us an opportunity to design what we've got to do. Sam, am I right? Is that what key number 8 is all about?
Yeah, so it's interesting when you take a step back and you look at some of these key plays. They do actually interweave quite a bit in terms of what sort of things happen around those key plays. So it's not a step 1 do this, step 2 do this. It is a mixture of these key elements or key plays, that create a great program. I think key 8 really talks to how do you bring this all together and how do you now create a game plan that's going to help you be more successful. It's utilizing tools like goal setting theory and things like that help you move your business forward. And actually, I found this really great quote from Denzel Washington. I'm going to read it off a piece of paper so I don't do this a disservice.
Yep.
So Denzel Washington said that dreams without goals are just dreams, and ultimately they fuel disappointment. On the road to achieving your dreams, you must apply discipline, but most importantly, consistency. Without commitment, you will never start, but without consistency, you will never finish. So I think that's a really great way to think of this key play is if you have a dream to build your club to X amount of members, without proper goal setting, taking the time to work out a game plan, you will ultimately be disappointed because ultimately you won't achieve what you didn't goal set for.
Yep. Yeah, I like it. Dan, is there anything you want to add on top of what Sam's just said there while we reflect and take all that in?
Look, I think you think back to whatever your favourite sporting team is, AFL, NRL, Super Netball, Super Rugby, whatever it might be, the most successful teams have a game plan, and it's a winning game plan. And every member of that team understands their part that they have to play and are engaged and want to play that role. And I think that's ultimately what designing a winning game plan is all about, is understanding every team member's strengths and weaknesses and playing to those strengths and making sure you've got a really clear strategy with what you're actually trying to achieve. Without the goal, the shiny thing at the end of the rainbow that you're chasing, without understanding what it is that you're trying to achieve out of this plan, it's very difficult to actually set a path forward to do it. So, it's really critical to the other thing, to think about is benefit versus effort, right? And looking at where's your low-hanging fruit in this goal. The goal is the big, hairy, audacious goal at the end of the year or end of whatever time frame you've put on it. Where's the low-hanging fruit? Where's the easy stuff that you can get toward closer to your goal without either spending a lot of money or wasting or spending a lot of energy on, right? So really identifying benefit versus effort and looking at, where can not about minimizing effort, but where can you get the biggest return on that effort, or that where is the biggest benefit coming from with the least amount of effort, and then obviously building towards what's going to take more in terms of financially more expensive, more time, and building that into your calendar, however that might look.
Yeah. Sam, what I suppose, what does success, can't even say that word, what does success look like in this space?
Well, the question is, what do you want it to look like?
Oh, a question with a question.
Really,
I like it.
That's really the
I
question.
like it.
What do you want success to be? And you are ultimately responsible for your own success. So your goal might be to increase your member base. I mean, that's for most clubs. That is the ultimate goal, right? Is to grow so that when members leave, you're not in a massive deficit, the churn and burn. You're not gaining 300 members every month and then losing 300 members every month. So ultimately, that's probably the headline, is to make sure that you're not losing more than you're gaining. That would be a starting point. And then with group, and when we talk about group fitness and any, I guess, we talk about with clubs this concept of assisted versus unassisted exercise. So assisted is anything. It's not anything, but you could define it as something where a person is accountable to another person. So personal training, small group training, group fitness classes. So that's kind of assisted training. So where they're being assisted by someone. So there's accountability there. The other end of the spectrum is unassisted. So unassisted is just, I go into the gym, I know what I'm doing, I'll do my weights, I go home. I'm not really accountable to anyone. Like I said, and I think we said it earlier episode, no one has a favorite treadmill. No one's like, if I don't turn up treadmill number 11, it's going to be real upset with me. There's no accountability there, right? So what ultimately successful clubs look like is, number one, they gain more than they lose. And number two, the majority of their members are engaged in some sort of assisted training. So they're probably the two measures of success in a group, in a fitness business. Yeah. That I would revenue obviously comes off the back of that, right? But gain more than you lose, and get as many members assisted as possible.
Yeah. So what would be stopping most clubs from achieving their goals, Dan?
Oh, it could be a number of things. I mean, I was going to add on to what Sam was saying. If you're a group exercise manager or a club manager that's listening to this, and you don't know, or you haven't set a goal, or I walk into a lot of clubs, and the Group X manager knows exactly what they're trying to achieve and what the goal is for the broader business that they're working in, right? But I do walk into a lot of clubs that have no idea what the current membership, what the membership number is, what the membership goal might be. They've got their own very siloed metrics that they're looking at, which might be attendance to group fitness class, or occupancy in a room and stuff like that, with no thought or without an understanding of what the bigger term, the bigger goal across the club or whatever is. So if you're one of those people listening thinking, yeah, you're right, I don't know what our overall goal is, or what we're trying to what the time frame or where we're trying to get in a certain period, go and have that conversation. Go and have that conversation with the owner of the club, or with the club manager, or whoever it is that you need to speak to that is involved in setting that goal, so you can understand what part you can play in that. That's probably the most critical thing, to understand what the goal looks like, so you can then plan toward it.
That was the next question I was going to ask. I've written down here, write your group exercise game plan, and what does this entail? And I suppose, as you've just said there, it is having that conversation with those above you and with those around you to understand as a team what we're trying to achieve with group exercise in our gym, in our facility, to make sure that all players, as we said in the early keys, everyone's got to be on the same page. We've got to be on the same path to do it. Otherwise, if they don't know what they're aiming for, they're not going to be able to do anything. It was key number one. I think it is that Peter Drucker statement. If you can't measure, you can't manage. Simple as, right there with that one. How do we report on it then? How do you report and review what's going on, and who as a Group X manager, who are we reporting to? Sam, can I throw that to you?
I love that we say this quite often, but it does depend on what your club flow looks like. A lot of group fitness managers report directly into, obviously, the club manager or the owner. The way you set up the reporting will depend on what your goal is, but you will need to have sort of a plan as to how often you remeasure, because it's kind of like, let's use a really crude analogy. It's kind of like trying to lose weight, right? And jumping on the scale every single day your weight fluctuates. You're a person, right?
Yeah.
Your weight fluctuates every day. So if you measure yourself every day, you're going to be really upset. But if you measure yourself across a longer period of time, you'll actually get a better understanding of what the business is doing. So a group fitness example, let's say 1 week, it's a public holiday on a Tuesday, and on a Wednesday, your classes have 5 to 10 people in them. And normally they have 10 to 20 people in them. Of course, if you just went, well, that class only had 5 people in it, so that's really poor. Of course, you're going to be upset about not achieving it. But if you average that out across a quarter, and we like to kind of help clubs understand to look at things in months and quarters rather than linear week to week, that's where you can get better understanding of your data. So having an agreed time frame that you'll measure this across is really important with any goal setting, because one day does not define you.
Yeah.
One day does not define you.
Yeah. Dan, how much detail should we be putting in these reports that we're passing through to managers? Like, what sort of data do we need to be throwing through? And I suppose what as a Group X manager ourselves, what should we be looking at?
So again, it comes back to one of the early key plays. The 3 numbers, as I said, if you take nothing away from this podcast other than these 3 things, these will help you understand where the business currently sits and allow you to plan for where you want to be in 6, 12, 18 months, 3 years down the track. And key play 8 definitely talks about setting different periods of goal setting up to 3 years, right? So that's a long time. You've got a long time to achieve that. But if you take nothing else away from this podcast other than these 3 business metrics that you can look at, you will have achieved something out of it. So that is, what's your current membership size? What is your current club membership attendance? So that's scan throughs in a given period, a week, and turn that into a month, as Sam said, to get better data. And then what's your group fitness attendance in that time frame? Okay. Once you've got those 3 numbers and you're really clear on where you sit today, then you can start to plan where you want to be in 3, 6, 9, 10, 20 months, whatever it might be. So understanding those 3 metrics are the keys to being able to build. Sure, you can go into all sorts of other things like occupancy in a room, but that is always going to be driven by attendance.
Yeah.
The higher the occupancy, naturally the higher the attendance. I always struggle when clubs focus so heavily on the occupancy of a room, because if you take a step back, take the occupancy side out of it, just look at attendance, the raw numbers of people coming through. What's your group fitness penetration? Out of 1,000 visitations in a week, for example, how many people are coming to group exercise?
Yep.
And that will then allow you to set, okay, we're at 20%, 30%, 40%, whatever that might be. We want to get it to here. This is what that looks like. So that's probably you don't have to. I mean, I love numbers, I love stats, and I love drilling into all the little intricacies and breaking it down program by program and time slot by time slot. All critical, all really important, all stuff that we can support you with through a business or a timetable review or analysis of your current club sort of standings. So that's really important. But as I said, start simple. Start with those 3 numbers.
Yep. Understand
where you're at, and then understand where you're going. And you can't do either of those things without, 1, knowing what those numbers are, and 2, knowing what the longer term strategy is.
Yeah. Yep. Sam, have you got anything to add to that?
From those 3 numbers, so understanding how many members you have, understanding how often they attend, and how often they attend group fitness, you can actually tell quite a number of things about the health of your business. And this is something that Dan and I help clubs with all the time, right? You'll be able to tell from that what your actual revenue is from group fitness, because that's one of the things that we're, I guess, trying to highlight is the power of group fitness and how group exercise helps clubs. You can understand what your future attrition is going to be, because if you know that you've got 2,000 members, but they're only attending on average once per member per week, you're in a lot of trouble, right? So you can tell that from stats, you're probably going to lose 50% of those. So that's a bit of a red flag for you. The siren's on. You need to do something about it, right? So really, if like Dan said, if you take anything, just look at those 3 numbers. Think about some of the stats that we've talked about. So the more people assisted, the less people that will leave. 50% of your members will leave after the first 12 months if they don't train frequently enough. The golden standard is 2 visits per member per week to stop that attrition, to keep them training 2 to 5 times longer. If you can look at those numbers, you can certainly learn a lot about your club.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it, boys. I think we're going to wrap it up there because I don't want to go into far too much detail. We've gone in a fair bit of detail about all of the 8 keys, and I think right now is probably a good place to wrap it up and say to people, if you want to know more, you want to find out more, jump online to the online group fitness management seminar that is hosted and run by Les Mills. Whether you are a current Les Mills partner or not, get in touch with them. The boys here will help you from their states, or the whole team is there to help you to understand what to do and guide you through best practice on how to actually improve what you're doing and how to do it if you're not doing it. Yeah, how to make it all happen. So, boys, from me to you, thank you so much for spending the last 5 weeks with me. And running through all this stuff. I've greatly appreciated sharing my knowledge with you guys, and greatly appreciated you guys sharing your knowledge with the audience as well. So thanks so much.
No worries at all. Tony, thank you for having us.